SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Are you tired of dents and scratches ruining the look of your car? Look no further than Porter's Body Shop in Brookhaven. Call us at 601-833-1861 or visit us online at portersbodyshopms.com.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo!
Trying to get organized. I'm not sure it's working, but I'm trying, and that's all you can do some days. Good Friday morning to you. Dave Hughes here in on mornings here on SuperTalk Mississippi. My buddy Lance Tolbert, the only person I know that can type that long of a text.
Well,
that was impressive yesterday.
Like
we had, yeah, it was good stuff. We have.
Well, today is the Zimmerman note, and it's funny that I was digging around. As I love researching, but always looking at cause and effect, and something I just kind of got off on that tangent. Then I wake up today and look on this day in history. Guess what? The Zimmerman note. The whole point of my text yesterday that took what 8 paragraphs, maybe.
Yeah, it went. I was reading through it and enjoying it, and my wife was sitting in the room and said, "What you reading?"
Yeah, a novel.
She saw me scrolling, and I just turned it around and just scrolled through the whole thing, and she said, "Who has time to type that?" I said, "Lance."
I dictated it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, even better.
I've been practicing my dictation skills. You got to go back and take periods out and question marks because I'm Southern, and it doesn't get me all the time. So, sometimes it's quicker just to text than do the speech to text.
But I say all that to say we have some deep conversations sometimes that nobody but you and I get to enjoy because probably nobody but you and I would enjoy them.
Well, being, we both are curious with history and all that good old stuff, and I love throwing things at you randomly, because you appreciate it. You have a great mind, and you also have that conspiratorial kind of sense to you, which I love. You can see through the fog,
Yeah, and boy, isn't there a non-stop deluge of fog, it seems.
Goodness.
Fun fact, by the way, we'll just start with this and then we'll move on. I don't know if you remember LeBron James back in 2018 decided he was going to do something to help underprivileged youth in Ohio to achieve. He started a school called the I Promise School, funded it himself, trying to give back to the community. Started it in 2018. Last test data they have from 2023, the 8th grade, 0 8th grade students passed state math tests.
Oh.
It's going great. It's going great. Turns out just throwing money at the education is not the solution.
Really?
Yeah, I know. It's a shock.
I thought that would have solved everything, Dave. Goodness.
You would think so, but as it turns out, no, that's not the problem. So we may have to look somewhere else because LeBron has been throwing 20s like he's riding a Mardi Gras float chunking beads. Just handfuls.
Maybe running for office before you know it.
Well,
those type of results.
If I were Cindy Hyde-Smith, I'd go ahead and find out what his number is and block it.
Oh, man. Did you... Yeah, I did send that to you, too.
Oh, yeah, and thank you for that. In case you missed it yesterday, Richard had it, and I think reacted to it absolutely beautifully. And we'll get to that later on. If you've got that audio, I wouldn't mind playing it again.
I have it from the clip yesterday. It would be the whole clip I sent you. I probably could try to pull that, though, and get I know about where he was talking, so I could probably stop it.
Yeah. Well, the Mississippi Republican Party is asking the FBI for an investigation into that video, saying that it violates federal law.
It was weird. I'll say that. I don't remember talking to anyone yesterday that heard that. And many people didn't, and were like, "Hey, could you send that back over to me?" Because they had heard it on the show, and we're kind of like, "Wow, I mean, did somebody really do that?" Oh yeah.
Well, in the interest of being a public-minded citizen, a little bit later on in the show, I have come up with a top 5 list of suggestions for new campaign ideas for Scott Cullum. Because if that's the level we're aspiring to, oh, you're in my wheelhouse. We can help with that. And I dare anyone to say that any of these are actually worse than the one he went with.
I don't think anything could have been worse than that choice, but...
Well, I think, and we're going to be charitable here, okay? We're going to give the benefit of the doubt and assume that he or whoever came up with this idea, if that's his actual voice and he read it, he was aware of what he was doing, whether it was his idea or not. Campaign advertising laws, he's got to have his voice in there somewhere. Of course, it's all through it. But... we'll be charitable and say the problem is he does not in the least understand what a sense of humor is. Thought that it was cute, thought that it was funny, and thought that it would get him some attention. Well, he was right in 1 out of the 3 cases, and the attention is not the attention he wants.
That was running a campaign is obviously a difficult endeavor, right? You got to stay out in front of everything. You got to raise money. You got to be on the road, and especially a Senate race where it's a statewide race. You're not located in just a district, so you got to appeal to the whole state. That is one of those types of stunts that I don't see how you appeal to people that way. I don't care if you think it's funny or what. It comes across as not a serious candidate. And that's what my number one. The cringe part is obvious, but the other is that's not a serious way to go about your job. I wouldn't imagine, given this is a Senate race, not local whatever.
The overused term tone deaf applies here.
That's a good point. Yeah,
it is an extremely tone deaf effort, in my opinion. And here's the thing. You have to be willing to take some shots at yourself if you want to start injecting character into a campaign. Edwin Edwards was the poster child for that down in Louisiana. Everybody was calling him a crook. He had been indicted. He had been convicted. So the next time he ran for governor, he put together bumper stickers that said, "Vote for the crook. It's important."
Yeah,
and he won.
He embraced it.
And that was for governor of the whole state. And he won. Why? Because he was poking fun at himself. Mm-hmm. Who was that meant to entertain? It comes off to me as self-absorbed, self-interested, and pompous.
You didn't miss on any of those.
That's the impression that I get. Right or wrong, that's the impression I get from that. And unfortunately, when you misread the state-sized room that badly, it does not instill a subconscious sense of confidence in your ability to represent that stateside room.
It was, yesterday was a very deep day. We were dealing with that as well as a pretty in-depth school choice debate and one that we know is going to be ensuing here as the legislative session comes upon us. So it was a fun day for a Thursday. A lot going on, and that just seems to be the case. Each day we wake up, you're kind of given gifts, whether they're ones you want or ones you want to hand back. But we're getting them.
Most of the time, you hope they have the receipt inside the wrapping paper these days.
But yesterday was fun, and I'm glad that we get to kind of parachute into the weekend because just crazy stuff going on out there in the world, and it's almost hard to rake through it all. When we have so much news that always happens in the state as well.
Yeah.
You got football coming, and that's always a big deal as far as the weekend goes. And then weather.
It better be. We need the distraction.
That's what I was going with. You kind of need a distraction. Hopefully, we'll have some good weekend series here, and everybody will be victorious. The weather will be a little bit all over the place. I'll hit that as we come back from our upcoming break. But the news cycle, it just doesn't slow down, buddy. It just doesn't slow down. And Trump, he's consistently, just out there working getting it done, and is seemingly on top of about 30, 40 things at one time. It's hard to understand how he can juggle so much and stay relevant there and not just mush brain.
I have a theory, and most people don't realize this. We have seen the concept of having ADD or ADHD demonized over the years. What people don't realize is if you're smart enough to learn how to control it and harness it, it's a superpower. And I think that may be part of President Trump's deal, not in a negative way at all. I just think he's able to handle more things than the average person at one time.
Well, when you're dealing with, you got the controversy at the Fed, you've got the alligator Alcatraz, and you just keep going. It's just almost like one thing after another, just domestically that he has to deal with on a daily basis. Then you go look at all these folks out there that are saber rattling all over the world. You got to deal with that too. Trade deals, all that. It's a full plate every day.
Venezuela. We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that. All sorts of happy, fun news, which is getting real old. I think we really need a camp out at this point just to get away from everything. When we come back, we'll take a look at weather. We'll take a look at football. We'll take a look to see if we have to refill any prescriptions. That's probably going to come in handy, too. We'll do all of that next on Mornings here on Super Talk Mississippi. Keep it here.
From the Venable Glass Track.
And get the Magnolia State's most important news of the day. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
To live by musically. We'll do our best, but no promises, because you know what the news cycle is like. Welcome back, Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi, with a Richard Cross-sized hole. And Mornings with Richard Cross, he's out on Fridays. I'm in.
He'd be off over to Arkansas this weekend.
Oh yeah. It's traveling season.
Little Rock. He's got I think the first ever meeting between Arkansas and Arkansas State, if I remember him.
How is that the first ever meeting?
I was taking a shower this morning thinking the same thing. I'm like, man, I know I heard him say that, but how it'd be like Southern Miss and Ole Miss never playing, or Mississippi State and Southern never playing, I guess. But
or Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Well, they're for the first time ever they're going to meet.
Man, they're going to meet. That's a big deal.
Arkansas and Arkansas State never found a way to play against each other. That's just bizarre.
If I remember what I heard, I think that was right. Well, we got some weather I could give you an update on before we get into some whodunits and all that good old birthday stuff, because it is the weekend. People want to know what's going on out there and in the stratosphere. So
it's not too bad.
No, only in the Delta, it seems. I mean, today it's going to be up to 103 on the heat index, 97 degrees, so it's pretty warm out there. Not a whole lot of wind, a little bit 5 to 10 miles an hour, 50% chance of showers tonight, and then on Saturday, 30% chance of showers, but it'll be a little cooler tomorrow in the Delta, about 84 degrees. So Saturday night, about the same, 63 low, and a little bit of wind. So if you're in the Delta, it'll be a nice weekend once you get past tomorrow. Today and on the coast, sunny, high near 90, light and variable wind, probably out of the southeast, about 5 to 10 miles an hour, partly cloudy tonight, low of 72. And Saturday, high near 92, so it'll be kind of cooking out there, but it doesn't look like there's really any rain to worry about, even though there's some type of tropical depression. If I read that correctly there, and Lorena becomes a post-tropical storm as risks of flooding hang over parts of western Mexico, so you ain't got to worry about that one. That's on the west side. And so the coast looks pretty clear for the weekend. Iuka up in the northeast corner, got a chance of showers and thunderstorms tonight before 2 a.m., but pretty much a nice day, 93 degrees, 5 to 10 mile an hour wind out of the southwest. Shouldn't have much rain to worry about. Saturday, you do have a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms, and mostly cloudy, a high near 78. So tomorrow is going to be very nice if you don't get drenched. Yeah, and it shouldn't rain too much if it does. And then by Saturday night, it'll be a low of around, listen to this, 56 up in the northeast corner. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now we're talking. We're starting to get in the right area there.
We go. So a nice weekend in the northeast corner. And then around Jackson and Meridian area in Starkville, it should be pretty sunny, high near 94 today, southwest winds. Could get up to about 99, feeling about 99 on the heat index. Increased clouds throughout the day, light wind through the evening, slight chance of showers tomorrow. Maybe some thunderstorms after 1 p.m., partly sunny, and a high of about 90. So it'll be a little muggy tomorrow around game time and all that stuff. So you got a big one up there with, State is hosting a big, a ranked team there in Arizona State. Ole Miss has got to go on the road to Kentucky, so that weather's up there. We're not going to worry about that.
Yeah, that's beyond our control.
Yeah, you do have a big ball game between USM and Jackson State this weekend, too. So hopefully the weather will hang out. Got two big ones here in the state of Mississippi, and that's always a lot of fun. Y'all be safe traveling, especially out there if you're going to be in those areas where there's potential rain or anything like that. But it doesn't look like it's going to be that bad. So y'all have a wonderful weekend on the road and at these ball games. And also, I'm sure you'll be traveling to kids stuff. It doesn't stop either. Sometimes you got a tournament somewhere, so check the radar and make sure you're good, but it should have a good weekend there.
Even beyond that, it's High School Football Friday.
That's right. Well, we got a lot of football that we'll be covering tonight. The High School Scoreboard Show by Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Company will be a lot of fun, and we'll get through 100 and something scores and a little bit of commentary, but mostly scores and such. The first show, it was fun to get back. We had Keith back. Keith was in and out with us last year, and he had a couple of health issues, but it's always good to have our public school expert, Keith. He knows everybody, and Keith is such a great guy. So such a honor to have him back. And, of course, Butch and Caleb, man, they kind of make it roll, and I just hand the ball off and let them run with it. So it'll be a good time. A lot of big games tonight as well. And that kind of gets us over to what happened, what was going on. I had a story yesterday that we didn't get to, but I did want to mention it. Do you remember the Edsel?
Yeah.
Yeah, the automobile.
Well, not personally. I'm not that old, but yeah, I remember it.
But the Edsel, yeah, it was one of those cars that really tanked, didn't do very well. It was named after one of Henry Ford's sons, Edsel, who had been much loved and appreciated. And Ford Motor Company from 1919 until his death at 49. So Edsel Ford's three sons objected to the use of their father's name in creation of this car. And indeed, Ford conducted much market research and gathered more than 8,000 possible names before settling on the Edsel, name once popularized, but has vanished from American culture in these days. But the Edsel was a product of a new division within the Ford Motor Company. And they wanted to create with General Motors, so they wanted to create a mid-priced vehicle to go up against the Oldsmobile. Planned in the mid-1950s flash flood of optimistic consumerism, and an era in which millions purchased new cars every year. It was developed with great secrecy. I mean, nobody knew anything about this car. Not even official Edsel dealers were allowed to see it in advance. But the pre-launch marketing blitz really promised something revolutionary that Ford just couldn't deliver. And, sometimes it's best to under-promise and over-deliver, right? Well, this is an example of that. Bad timing. U.S. was entering a recession, and the market turned to more fuel-efficient vehicles, like the American Motor Company's Rambler. But a lot of consumer blowback as the Edsel was released. The public had been teased into expecting nothing more really or less than a plutonium-powered pancake maker, as far as your car goes. That did not happen. The design was just kind of stale. It didn't have great workmanship. It was not of great quality. But when you looked at the front of it, it was the one thing that really drew my attention in this story was the comments on what the grill looked like. What I was at, instead of the entry-level Edsel really looked no different from a Ford Mercury with the front horse collar grill. One magazine described the grill looking like a midwife's view of labor and delivery all at the same time. The Edsel also suffered from, not much brand recognition and all that good stuff. The story goes on and on, but if you ever want to read about the worst selling car, other probably than the Pinto, maybe, I don't know which one, but the Edsel story is actually great because the Ford people, the Ford family, didn't even want them to name the car after their father. They're like, no, please don't. They came up with many other names, and they still settled on this terrible lemon of a car that Mr. Edsel Ford, who's named after. So It's a great story, though, of one of those things. If you promise too much and you deliver too little, it's not a good thing out there. So.
That's exactly what I was going to transition into from that. We have an epidemic of running our mouths 24/7 and not being able to deliver on the nonsense we put out.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're talking politically, in the consumer area, in the corporate area, whatever realm you want to look at. That's kind of the way things are done now. Let's overhype stuff to a ridiculous extent, and if you don't like it, well, in 6 months, we'll have another iPhone that looks just like the last one. Oh, wait,
yes.
I used a specific example. I'm sorry. But that is a problem, because if you do that consistently across the board, if everything is an Edsel
yes.
when it comes to overpromising and under-delivering, people quit caring about anything.
Well, it's a story, though, that I love because, Richard is a big Ford guy. And so we didn't get around to the story yesterday, but I did send it to him. Like, do your research on the Edsel. I mean, can you imagine being a dealer and Ford really promoting this thing about it's basically going to be a spaceship. And they didn't even get a chance to see it before they had to buy inventory and all that. And then you're stuck with these cars nobody wants, and it looks like a horse collar or a midwife watching labor, coming.
Yeah,
at you. It's just
looks like a medical procedure up front.
Not
That's
even
not
a very
good.
functional design, too. If you go back and look at the car, it just it's like a boat with wheels, And,
well, and that's another problem. When you start designing things, again, in all areas, whether it's government programs, software packages, or vehicles, if you start designing things to impress instead of designing things to work better than the competition, you're not going to have a good time.
That's right.
You never do.
Well, we had a couple birthdays worth mentioning. My favorite on here today is going to be George Lazenby, 86 years old,
yes.
Her Majesty's Secret Service, the man from U.N.C.L.E., actually the return of the man from U.N.C.L.E. What guy in the history of acting is given a job like James Bond? And you take it, you crush the one movie you do and go, all right, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm out.
That's George Lazenby. We'll have a couple more of those when we come back. But man, I love George. And any interview with him is always priceless. If you ever go to YouTube and get in a rabbit hole, George Lazenby interviews are always good.
Well, he is the epitome of quit while you're ahead.
Yeah, and he's the epitome of cool. I mean, like literally,
yes.
Hey, I'm good. I got this. I don't need that job.
Exactly. Yeah, I got better things to do than be James Bond. We'll continue after this.
From theseabroof.com.
Being Mississippi politics each morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Somebody told me when I first got to Nashville, boss, you finally got it made. Old Hank made it here. We're all sure that you will, but I don't think Hank done it this way. Did old Hank really do it this way?
Getting down to basics.
Boy, that's leftover salmon with the main dude right there.
I'm telling you, welcome back. Mornings. Just saw a cute thing. Little meme says, I wonder if my recorded call has ever been used for training or quality purposes.
I hope they've used mine. I try hard to make them difficult. When you get a telemarketer or something like that, I love messing with them at times when I'm bored.
Yeah, I do the same
You're going to
thing.
buy stuff and hey, send it here and all that good old stuff. Hey, one last funny thing regarding the Edsel. Yeah. I mean, it's just such a deep story. And the reason it's relevant, it actually was released yesterday, the car. But they doubled down, man. They hired Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra to try to sell it. Created a show called The Edsel Show. Oh. And this is after they had shipped cars that didn't even have working parts and all this. So one funny story, though, that most people don't remember, and it's a good one. 1958, Richard Nixon had actually visited Lima, Peru, and he was in a convertible Edsel. I guess that was one of the few places where people bought them, and they were. He's riding through the streets when all of a sudden the motorcade was pelted with eggs by the bystanders. And he quipped, they weren't throwing eggs at me, they were throwing them at the car. So, how many times does a car have that kind of an impact? I mean, Robert McNamara was the president of Ford Motor Company at the time. And remember what came next for him, right? He goes over and works with Kennedy. Goldwater basically blames McNamara for the failure of this car. I mean, it's not many things in history have such tentacles that you can dig in on. But the Richard Nixon story is always a funny one to me. It wasn't me, it was the car.
What you're saying is if you do a bad product launch, you can change the world.
Yeah, and don't double down on the bad. Just to get rid of it, man. They hung on to this thing forever. Now, the car itself is an extremely popular piece of collection in car world out there. There aren't many of them left, and I doubt if any of them actually run anymore. But it is a very prized piece.
Well, if we follow that same plan, then at some point over the next few days, Scott Cullum will release a follow-up video where he's apologizing to an apparently fake Cindy Hyde-Smith for using her fake voice in the first one.
Yeah, double
that would
down.
be the Edsel marketing plan.
That's why I mentioned this. I mean, are we going to see a double down here, or are we going to go backwards? And another thing, today, a man named Freddie Mercury, he would have been 79 years old. So in the car world, we got a great singer there. And again, one of my favorite names on the history of people that were famous who had sons or daughters and they named them things. Dweezil Zappa, 56 years old today. You know who his daddy is.
Yes.
Dweezil.
And you know who his sister is, Moon Unit. Dweezil's practically normal.
Yes. Oh, man. All right, we have a couple of others out there. Met this guy once. He's as big as a thimble. Michael Keaton, 74 years old. My sister and I were out front of the Chateau Marmont, out in L.A., and we were about to go into the bar area, and out comes this little chihuahua in a gray suit and just jacked up, man. He starts talking. I didn't even know who this guy was. I mean, I knew who he was, but he was so little, I didn't really pay attention to him. So he starts talking to my sister, she's a looker. I mean, she's a real pretty woman. And even back then, we were in our 20s working for Ole Miss and fundraising, and we were out there for a fundraiser. So this was after the event, and she and I were kind of bouncing around. And this guy comes out and just starts talking to her. And he starts asking her where she's from and all this. And she said, I'm from Mississippi. Are you Miss Mississippi, Miss Mississippi? And I mean, this guy was just something else. And I finally realized that it was Michael Keaton. And we're sitting there talking to Batman. And I'm like, this guy's Batman? I mean, they must have had like a foot and a half, like, the sheetrock guys that are on the stilts. I mean, he had to have been in something like that in that suit, because that guy came up to my waist, I think.
You very rarely saw him full body as Batman. So in all the close-ups, he was standing on a box.
He had to be. And I'm a huge fan of Gung Ho and many of the movies of his, but that was one of the ones that I was like, what an odd casting. Once I met him, and you realize this guy's a little bitty dude, funny and a great actor, but definitely was I was not impressed with the size of a Batman. Okay. Well, we got a couple others. You got Rose McGowan. She's 52 years old today. And let's see here. I think there was one more. The one that I really wanted to say was Jesse James, 1882. He passed. Today was his birthday, 1847. Extremely popular figure. Obviously a gang leader, trained robber, and a murderer. But was popularized for his and being beloved as, I guess, one of these robber guys that was out there in that time. That was important. And
it just goes to show, though, how the framing is so important. You've got a murderer, train robber, gangster type person, and they're still making movies about him.
That's right. Yeah.
Nobody's made an Edsel movie in forever. You can stink and be successful at it.
Yeah. Well, you got
Sir Walter.
Hey, Sir Walter Raleigh, great example here. He was an English adventurer and writer. He established a colony near Roanoke. Nobody knows what happened to those folks, right? They just disappeared. Now known as Virginia, but he made it back to London and was imprisoned in the Tower of London and actually put to death for treason. And again, not many people know that end of the story, I think, but most of them know about Roanoke and the founding of the colony. This happened in 1618. Today was his birthday, though, 1552.
I saw a thing about that, about the Roanoke colony that vanished. And if you recall, the only real piece of evidence they found was the word Croatoan carved into a tree. Yeah. And everybody's like, my goodness, what does this possibly mean? I don't understand. Where could they have gone? This is creepy. What happened? Right off the coast of where Roanoke is was an island where the Croatoan people lived, and to this day have blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids running around. I don't know. What happened? It's a mystery.
They either ate them, right? No, or either they intermarried and became part of the tribe.
Yeah, I think they just merged in and went on about their business.
Like the English forgot about us. Sir Walter's gone. We're just going to go over here and create our own little world. That's always what I kind of thought happened to them.
And to be fair, I think they left a perfectly obvious clue. Right next to the island where the Croatoan people live, as you're leaving, you carve the word Croatoan.
They're like, come over here.
Yeah, they should have said, went to.
Maybe that part got erased somehow or another. But, that was a pretty good little stamp left to tell you, hey, we're over here. Come on over. Yeah.
Right over here. We can see you. We can see you from here. And it was an enormous mystery. A lot of times we go looking for mysteries just because we enjoy a good mystery, and unfortunately to enjoy it, we have to ignore all the obvious clues.
That's right. Well, on this day, American Red Cross actually provided disaster relief for the first time in the Michigan's Great Forest Fire of 1881.
Okay.
So we had that, and we also had in 1914, President Woodrow Wilson ordered the U.S. Navy to make its wireless stations accessible for any transatlantic communications, even to German diplomats sending coded messages. Well, guess what that led to? The interception of the Zimmerman telegram, helping bring the U.S.
Here we go again.
I told you it was coming. Bringing the U.S. into World War I. And that was extremely I would say important into the tide of things changing. And obviously, Germany ended up losing that, and that spurred the Treaty of Versailles and many things after that kind of brought us into World War II in the current era. So that telegram, one thing such as that, hey, Mexico, why don't you invade America, basically? And that turned America, the tide, everything changed from that moment forward. So very significant day in history. It was today in 1914. Changed the course of the world. Just a telegram.
You know, I have to wonder if we're not revisiting some of that history. Let me explain why. Have you heard what's happening in Germany? Mm-hmm. They have an election coming up in a week or so, and their far-right AfD party. 7 of the AfD candidates that were running for office, they have mysteriously died just out of nowhere, all from the same party right before the election. If you know your history back before World War II, part of how Hitler took over in Germany was something that is still referred to historically as the Night of the Long Knives, where they went around and killed all of his political opponents.
Yep.
So that they wouldn't be there to run, and then they got to move on and do what they wanted to do. And I've already seen some people referring to this as Night of the Long Knives Part 2.
Well, they did a great job of marketing that one back then. I mentioned that to Richard a while back. I was like, man, they were good at marketing these things. The Night of the Long Knives.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a heck of a name, isn't it?
Well, we just have lost that creativity with nefarious deeds.
That's right.
Gunpowder, treason, and plot. You know, nothing gets a catchy name or a poem anymore.
No. Hey, and by the way, Darren and Jackson, happy birthday. He shares a birthday with Jesse James. So good, yeah.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Very nice. That's as far as sharing birthdays go,
that's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah, I would take that. Definitely. When we come back, it escapes my mind right now. It seems like there's something to do with the lottery that we should really talk about. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. No one's talking about it. Sorry. I zoned out and I was mentally going through my list on Zillow again. When we come back, let's look at the Mississippi Lottery. There's a lot of money waiting to go into your pocket, and we'll talk about it next. Keep it here.
Oh, yeah.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
What else?
And always on the SuperTalk app.
Welcome back. That's what we're going to talk about is your money. If you believe in manifestation, I'd be working overtime right now because there's a ton of money out there to be won with the Mississippi lottery. I think we all know what we're going to focus on. Match 5 is up to $120,000. Now, before you laugh, let me explain why I led with that one. We get so caught up and so focused on the big ones, when like Powerball and what it's risen to right now. We'll get to that. Everybody focuses on that and forgets. Would it be a tragedy if you won $120,000?
I mean, not right for me.
There. Yeah, it's just same line, different ticket. That's it. It's right there. Lotto America's up to $2.6 million. Mega Millions is up to $336 million. Heck, you play Cash 4, you could win $5,000 twice in the same day if you played it both times and won. So there's a lot of money there. That's not going to stop us from focusing on the big one. Powerball, the next estimated jackpot tomorrow night, $1.7 billion. $1.7 billion.
Yeah, take-home pays up there, too.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. The cash value, if you take it in a lump sum instead of taking the annuity, $770.3 million, which again gives me an opportunity. This is a great chance to remind people when you see the post going around saying $1.7 billion, you're only going to keep about $500 million out of that. Federal government's taking all your money. Look at all those taxes. No, that's not the way it works. The cash lump sum, $770.3 million estimated. And then that will get taxed. They're not taxing you on $1.7 billion. It's not the way it works, but I see that misrepresented all the time because everybody is so desperately determined to get some sense of self-validation by proving that things are worse than they actually are, that they spread that stuff around. And again, it's odd that you wouldn't be appreciative of it because it's not just a life-changing amount of money, Lance. It's a life-changing amount of money for your kids and your grandkids and your great-grandkids and your cousins and nephews and everybody as it spreads out down the line.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they call generational wealth.
That's a generation changer there, yeah.
Yes, it's a big deal. The winning numbers from the last drawing on Wednesday were 3, 16, 29, 61, 69, and the Powerball was 22. Next drawing again tomorrow night. Now, just to make sure everybody is aware, because there's going to be a lot of traffic and a lot of interest over this, always is. Third largest lottery jackpot in American history. Yeah, they expect to stand in line for a minute, depending on when you go. But I want to remind you, they draw right at 10 o'clock tomorrow night. If you show up at 9:30 to buy a ticket, you're too late because they shut it down an hour or so in advance. I'm saying all that to say this. Plan it out. Plan it out. Know when you're going to go. Go ahead and go and get it done early. And that way you don't have to, worry about it. Got mine yesterday, by the way, Lance. I'm way ahead of the curve.
All right, do you do multiples or you just go with one? Or like, is it that's the ticket, or do you buy a bunch of them?
Oh, no, I do the quick play because I know what my judgment's like, so I'd rather trust the computer.
Yeah.
And this time I think we got 5 sets of numbers.
Well, the thing about that kind of money is it's there may be like a heart attack or a palpitation. If you win that, it's going to take a little bit of double and triple reading, and then you're going to want to be put into like a protective room with your ticket. So, you're basically in jail until you get your money, right? You don't want to go anywhere, do anything. That ticket's just got to be right there in your pocket. That's the way I would feel. I wouldn't even leave the house if I had the winning ticket.
Yeah, no joke.
I'd be like, y'all come see me. How about that?
You got to play it very safely until that money hits the account. But I'm telling you, I'm warning you in advance. If that kind of money hits my account, you're going to turn on the microphone next Friday and say, "Good morning, Dave."
It'll be one of these.
Dave?
Hey, is he here?
Where did he go? Because
and I won't blame
again,
you, brother. I won't blame you.
Again, gonna throw a smoke bomb like a ninja and vanish right in front of your eyes.
As they say, don't let the door hit you in the you-know-what on the way out, right? I mean,
exactly. But you've got a lot of great options there. You've got, like I mentioned earlier, the cash for $5,000, the top prize, 2 different drawings every day. Cash 3, $500 twice a day they give away. Cash pop depends on what you pay. It's anywhere from 5 times to 250 times your wager, depending on, how much you spend. There's a lot of money to be won with the Mississippi Lottery. And boy, it's a good time to take a little glance at that. Coming up, we have news from Fox News, SuperTalk Mississippi News, and then hour number 2 of mornings here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes. This hour of mornings brought to you by MWG Employer Services. You can call them today and get more information about that, how they can help you and your business be more efficient, be more cost effective, run more smoothly, and you can get a better night's sleep. That's a win all the way around. You can call today at 601-206-7966 or go to mwgemployerservices.com to find out more information.
Hey, I had one piece of trivia for you. Maybe you'll know the answer to this. Back on our automotive discussion, Buick, before they were a car manufacturer, what were they known for? What did they make? And what were they? What was their kind of in their cap? Were they were the best at it?
Have no idea.
Plumbing fixtures.
Really?
And they were also the first to create the enameled cast iron bathtub. Then they got into the car business.
Okay, well, that's a logical progression, I guess.
There was another American company called Pierce, I think was the name, and they actually made bird cages first, but then they got into the car business. The automotive history is amazing.
Federal officials have confirmed this morning that immigration authorities have arrested at least 450 people in a raid at a Hyundai manufacturing site in Georgia. 450.
Goodness.
I've seen some estimates.
Whole
I don't know
town.
if you've seen this. Yeah. Some of the estimates are saying we have as many as 50 million illegal immigrants.
I have, for years, dug around on that, especially when I was in finance. But, as we do what we do, I always figured there were more than 40 million from some of the math I was coming across. But it's hard to confirm that because you don't know who they are. They just show up and go to work and, mail the money back and live, and you don't really know what's happening. So I think it's a great guess. But I always assume more than 40 million.
Yeah, and you could probably find some of them by going through the voting rolls from 2020 and seeing who voted for Biden. But the thing is, we have a population around 400 million, a little bit less than 400 million in America. So you're telling me that significant a percentage of the human beings walking around in the country aren't supposed to be here?
That's a lot, isn't it?
Wonder if that's having any impact on the economy on anything.
And then you'll have a lot of folks clamoring, well, we need these folks. Nobody else wants to do the jobs.
No, nobody else wants to do those jobs for what you're willing to pay someone to do that job.
I'm not a fan of that argument. That's not. You don't allow 40 to 50 million people to jump a fence and come in your country because you need people to work.
Exactly.
That's not how you do it.
That's a great way to no longer have a country.
Right. There you go.
And that has been proven throughout history. That is a fantastic way to wake up one morning and go, where'd the country go? Yeah. And it's gone. It's somebody else's now.
Look at, and again, I always get fascinated with people that love the European history and love the culture and love the buildings and all these monarchies and dictatorships that we ran and as fast as you could run from. Go do some reading about European history. That is not who you want to emulate, folks.
Yeah.
Trust me. We need to be American. Do the things that we are supposed to do from over here. But emulating Europe or really anyone else, that's not our thing. And we should not look at Europe as some, golden calf that we need to worship.
Every single thing that comes out shows that immigration of people that aren't supposed to be here. If you go through the process and you become a citizen, come on in. Great to have you.
Yeah, do it the right way.
I've got a good friend of mine here in Southwest Mississippi who did exactly that. Went through the process, and if you want to hear somebody who gets angry about illegal immigration, go ask her about it. Oh, she is not a fan for obvious reasons. So as we see more and more reports like what came out, what's been confirmed this morning, 450 arrested at that one auto plant in Georgia. That I'm going to take a guess that's a significant portion of their workforce.
Man,
is it going to have to shut down for a while until you get something else?
There's not many places you see anymore that have more than, say, 1,000 people under a roof. It really is. I mean, maybe 1,500 in a manufacturing facility, but I mean, that's at least, what would you say, a third of the workforce?
Probably. Mm-hmm. The thing is, going back to a phrase you said a minute ago that everyone continues to lean into and say, well, it's just nobody wants to work anymore. The report came out this week. There are more people looking for work than there are open jobs in America. If every single unemployed person got hired today, there would still be positions that could not be filled. Mm-hmm. And that disparity is growing as illegal immigrants are arrested and taken off the board, employment-wise. That disparity is going to go up. So guess what? Welcome to the free market. You've got to compete for the good employees to do your job, which means, back to what I said, if you want a good employee to come do your job, well, they've got choices. They've got options. You've got to offer them the best reason to come work for you. That's capitalism 101. That's free market in a nutshell.
Well, it's exactly. It's the same with a house, right? I mean, when you have too many people wanting a house and there's not but one house, the price of that house is going to go up. So scarcity for the worker could be, in that way, a benefit of higher pay because you have less workers than jobs available, and the worker is going to be in high demand. We talk about this all the time, especially in the trade world where you have welding and HVAC and so many different things that are skilled trades make great money. And you can see why is because the demand is so high. The labor is scarce. The demand is high. There's a lot of work to be done, and they're getting paid well to do the work. That's why people are flooding into that world, into that arena, because the pay is great. And plus there's great job security, and they can see a future. Hey, I can make this, I can do that. I can be, very fruitful, have a family, buy a house. That's what you got to have that.
There are two caveats to this, though. One of them you mentioned, another one I'm just bringing out of thin air. You're competing for it, which means, I'm sorry, you may think that $10 an hour you're offering is the best opportunity in the world, but if they have a choice between that and going somewhere else for $25 an hour, you're going to lose every time. Yeah. The other part of this is some of those people that are unemployed are unemployable. And here's what I mean by that. If you can't even sign your name, if you have to get somebody to help you fill out your job application, you're not on a level playing field with a lot of the people out there going for jobs. There are people who, not quite to that extreme, have no skills. Mm-hmm. If you have no skills, you are not entitled to have a job because you decided you wanted to go to work. So then they don't have a job, and then people look at them and go, well, you don't want to work. Might not be the problem. They might not have anything to offer.
Yeah, or it may not have transportation or the means to get to
child
a job.
Care. There's
care.
All sorts of things.
Well, many things that you run across in that. It's not just the desire not to work. It could be lack of skills, like you said.
Yes.
Lack of ability to get there. Lack of the ability to take care of children while you're working. And that is a real issue.
You mentioned the housing market. Mortgage applications are currently, just got this chart out, are down 34% from 2020 and at a much lower rate than they were in 2008.
Yeah,
nobody's wanting right now. There are, I think it's a 500,000 disparity between the number of people trying to sell a home and the number of people looking to buy one.
Yeah, you have a lack of buyers and a surplus of sellers, and that's usually not a good scenario.
There's two things that are going to come out of that. Because there are two aspects that are preventing people and making people go, oh, heck with it, I don't care. The cost of the house itself, the pricing, has really shot through the roof, and of course the interest rates.
Well, and rent also is outrageous. So there is I don't know how to explain it. You say it like contango in oil when you have a buildup somewhere and it's just not flowing correctly. You don't have the logistics worked out. Something's going on in the housing market, and it's a big spillover, I can assure you, from the Biden administration, where rents are way higher than what it should be, because you can buy the same house, pay $895 a month, and you're going to go rent that for $2,000 a month. I mean, it's just way off.
The problem is it has gotten twisted. You have to have shelter. You have to have a roof over your head. You have to have some place to sleep safely at night. And as a result, all the market can bear has turned into all we can take you for, because you got to be somewhere. So that has been abused at this point. Plus, as the housing prices go up, rent goes up. By definition, by default. So the whole thing is messed up. Something's going to have to budge before anything changes. I think it'll be interest rates. We'll talk about that later. Keep it.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
From Sumner to Summit to Summerall, Richard has something for you. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Substitution, mass confusion, clouds inside your head. Until you visited with your eyes of porcelain and a blue.
Welcome back, Super Talk, Mississippi. Mornings without Richard Cross. Dave Hughes here. Yesterday, you may have heard, hopefully you heard, Richard talking about I'm going to call it a campaign video, since that's apparently what it was supposed to be, from Scott Colum, District Attorney up in Lowndes, Oktibbeha, and Clay, and Noxubee counties, who announced that he is running for U.S. Senate against Cindy Hyde-Smith. Well, he released this bizarre fever dream video, if you ask me, with what seems to be an attempt to have an imitation of Cindy Hyde-Smith's voice as he put his message out. We have that in case you missed it, in case you haven't heard it yet. You need to hear this, because the Mississippi Republican Party is now asking the FBI for an investigation into this video for possible federal violations connected to the potential impersonation of a sitting U.S. senator's voice. That's a no-no, by the way. That's a big no-no. Lance, you've got that audio.
I think I got it to where it'll work. Let's see here.
Go ahead and inflict it on us.
So Scott drops a video on X last night. And I'm going to let you listen to it. But I want to give you a quick synopsis of what you are listening to. Scott Colomb is purportedly calling Cindy Hyde Smith at night from his phone to wish her a good night. But it is clearly not Cindy Hyde Smith on the other end of the line. And it is also really, really cringe.
Yeah.
Understatement, Richard.
Is this race over before it begins?
Yep.
Everybody, I just announced that I'm running for United States Senate against Cindy Hyde Smith. This is not personal. I'm going to call her and wish her good night. Let's see if she answers.
I'm just waiting for it. How big old boy are you?
Hello. Hey, Senator Hyde Smith. I can't believe she answered. This is Scott Colomb. I'm just calling to wish you good night.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm running against you for United States Senate, and it may seem personal, but it's actually not personal. You know, as a Christian, I forgive you for blocking my nomination. The problem is, as a Mississippian, you keep voting against our interests. Like you're voting to put our health care at risk, our hospitals at risk, just so millionaires and billionaires in New York and California can get a tax break. I don't think that's right, Senator. So, but listen, I guess that's how you view it. I still want you to have a good night's sleep. Is that okay?
You're calling to tell me good night?
Yeah, that's the type of Christian I am, Senator Hyde Smith. Like I keep telling you, it's not personal. You just need to learn how to put Mississippi first. And, you know, when I'm senator, you can kind of watch my example of how to put our state first. And vote.
You're a senator.
Yeah, I'm running to replace you because we need a senator that's going to put us first, not DC politics. I just think you care a little bit too much about like Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell and those type of people. You need to care more about the people of Mississippi, but I still want you to have a good night's sleep. So thank you for answering the call. I appreciate it.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just stop it there. That's
Hey, and I will tell you this before we go. At the end of that interview, I had to clip it a little bit but as I texted Richard yesterday, I said, I think the best part of that interview was the transition where he goes, ay. Doctor panel's next, and then we had to go.
Yes, just had to go right out of it because he was out of time.
How do you come out of
segment.
that? Yeah.
There's not much you can say after that, but I am going to do something here. I want to break down a little bit some of the psychological maneuvers used in that. As you know, psychology is my thing. Yes, the voice, we're going to refer to it as the voice, does not identify itself as Cindy Hyde Smith, but he calls the voice Cindy Hyde Smith multiple times, reinforcing the idea that that's who it is. That's where the investigation is going to get interesting. Number two, the condescension, which is standard for a Democratic candidate, is off the charts here.
Yeah.
Number three.
I love the lecture as you're going to bed.
Number three is the implication that Cindy Hyde Smith is so stupid she doesn't know she has an opponent.
It was a lot to unpack
when you're
in
senator, what? Sir, do not project your intelligence level on someone else because your apparent intelligence level to me from this is not that high. So the FBI will be having a word with Mr. Cullum. Appropriately, I think, and then we'll move forward. But, you know,
we can't even read these texts, man. I mean, they're hilarious, but I'm sorry. Some of these,
Lance, I'm a helpful guy. You know that about me.
I love you, Dave. You are helpful, man.
I don't like to see people struggling. Even if I don't agree with them, I want everybody to succeed and have a good run in life. So I've got a top 5 list I've put together of helpful ideas that Scott Cullum can use as his campaign proceeds. Keeping in mind, we now have a baseline established of what he thinks is a good idea. If he didn't, he wouldn't have released it with his voice on it. So obviously, that's about the level he wants the campaign to be at. So I came up with some ideas to help him out. Feel free. I give full public permission right now to use any of these for the campaign. Number one, just extend this. Just play on this like you do with a good marketing campaign. Just every night, call random voters.
You do the Edsel, right?
at 1 a.m., and when they answer, just with the same voice you used in that video, say, good night, and hang up. It's going to be just as effective. Getting into policy a little bit, he could start promoting his needlepoint classes in exchange for guns anti-crime program. New campaign slogan, good night, I'm watching. Well, again, you got to play with it. If you're going to start a brand, you've got to lean into it, right?
Just go extra creepy, right?
Yeah, and you got to do it with that same voice he used in the video. Good night.
Good night.
I'm watching.
Yeah, I'm here.
Clunk. Yeah. Number 2, free potted meat ice cream cone Wednesdays, because that's just about as palatable as that video was. Ooh. And number 1, got a great ad for another video video ad for him. I want you to picture him just sitting there holding an iguana, a large iguana, staring directly into the camera with a deadpan face, stroking the iguana and petting it and saying, who to vote for? The lizard knows. The lizard knows.
The lizard knows.
All of those make just as much sense as that little project of his made in terms of winning over voters. That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And one of the Richard nailed it yesterday. That's one of the biggest campaign opening missteps I can remember.
Yeah, I don't know if I can put a finger on one as bad as that one. Just stepping into, quicksand there. I'm not sure how you back out of that. You made some good suggestions as to how you move forward, but I mean, it's almost like you have to embrace the comedy of it almost. I mean, if you're Mr. Colomb. So I don't know what the point of that was, other than to try to be funny. But as I said, I just think it makes the office and his seeking of it look less than what it is. And this is a serious election. That was not.
Yes.
That just right there came to me across as clown.
It was a very cheap, poorly thought out framework to try to build around a basically preachy, condescending speech against Cindy Hyde-Smith, and the framework didn't support it.
And then again, with whoever the advisor is, or if he had one this early in the game, I worked in campaigns, and you definitely need a coordinated attack if you're going to be dealing with a statewide campaign. You can't have the candidate out throwing this off, and then these people over here saying that. Everything really needs to be coordinated. And my curiosity is, was this just some evening where he goes, "Hey, this is a great idea," pulls it himself, and comes back and it's not really a great idea? Or was this advice given by a professional hired to run your campaign? Either way, those are disturbing. In that way, if you think about it.
Mike Hurst put out a statement saying it was shameful and dishonest and appears to be a direct violation of federal criminal law. Scott Cullum's team issued a statement in reply and said Cindy Hyde-Smith and her backers are so worried about her reelection, they've resorted to bogus complaints about social media parodies, which are core protected First Amendment speech. I would like to use a quote from Mad Men. I don't know if you ever saw that show. Fantastic television show.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to use a quote from Mad Men to explain to Mr. District Attorney Cullum in regards to Cindy Hyde-Smith being, quote, so worried about her reelection. Mr. Cullum, they don't think about you at all. Not after that. You have exactly shown what your threat level is. And it's below ground right now. We continue. Up next, Getty Israel joins us. A more serious subject, because this one certainly hasn't been, but a more serious subject and something that deserves some conversation.
From the Seabrook.com.
Of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Morning, partner. The sun is up, the coffee is on, and you're starting your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross, here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Down
Welcome back. Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi, and about a week ago, a little over a week ago, the state health officer, Dr. Edney, declared a state of emergency over infant mortality in the state of Mississippi. And I started asking last week, I said, we got to get somebody in to talk about this because I don't think we talk about this enough. And Alex, the lovely and talented, worked her magic and got exactly the person to talk to. She is the founder and CEO of Sisters in Birth. Getty Israel is joining us. How are you this morning?
Good morning. How are you?
Pretty good. Let me ask you something. Where on a scale of 0 to 100, where's your frustration level? How often in the week do you have to resist the urge to shake somebody by their shirt front and scream, "What's wrong with you?"
Oh, well, I would say probably 1,000.
Yeah, that's about what I figured, because the first thing that I wanted to get into is that this isn't a new problem.
No.
It's just now getting attention. This has been a problem for a long time in the state of Mississippi, hasn't it?
Yeah, for about 50 years.
Yeah. Oh, that's nothing. You know, Getty, that's no big deal.
Right.
But the problem is, and this is me speaking here, we have a bad tendency to talk at a problem instead of actually doing something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's fair?
Yes, sir. Yes, definitely.
But that brings us to the tricky question. What do we do about it? I mean, your organization, Sisters in Birth, and I want to point out something. Midwifery is getting a little bit of traction. I know here in Southwest Mississippi, where I'm at, Southwest Regional Medical Center has started a midwife program. They actually have midwives on staff. Interviewed one not too long ago.
Good.
And that's an important piece of this that I think a lot of people don't understand. Let's very briefly, before we get into the rest of it, let's talk about midwifery and what it brings to the table in terms of infant mortality and the entire birth process for women in the state.
Great question. Well, I'm going to start off by saying I am a strong advocate for midwives. My first name came from the midwife who delivered me in Jefferson County. My mother assisted midwives, but those were midwives who delivered babies in the home. They are called direct entry midwives. They're not clinical, and they're not regulated by the state of Mississippi. They're not licensed or credentialed. So my focus is on the certified nurse midwife. Now, she is an incredible resource because she brings or presents two dynamic skills. First, she's a nurse practitioner. That means she can assess, diagnose, and treat diseases. She's gone back to school to study midwifery. So she becomes a nationally board certified through the American College of Nurse Midwives, becomes a board certified nurse midwife. Now she can deliver babies. Now in Mississippi, there are only two types of providers who are licensed and reimbursed to provide prenatal care and deliver babies. It is the obstetrical doctor, who we call the obstetrician, as well as the certified nurse midwife. So moving forward, I'm going to refer to her as the CNM, Certified Nurse Midwife. So here's what she does differently. It's called the midwifery model of care. First of all, by law, she's only allowed to treat low-risk women. That means they have no health complications, like they're not diabetic. They don't have heart disease or lupus or something like that. They're not carrying more than one fetus, okay? The fetus is not breached. And so there are no complications coming forward. That woman is expected to have a normal vaginal birth. A midwife, a nurse midwife, CNM, throughout the world, she primarily delivers that type of woman because she's considered low risk. Doctors throughout the world are primarily used for complicated cases, prenatal cases. What has happened in this country is doctors, since the 50s, have taken over birth or the birthing business, and it has become, because of the way they practice, complicated, more expensive. For instance, doctors are more likely to use something called a synthetic oxytocin Now, oxytocin is something that occurs naturally when a woman is in labor or is not in labor. If doctors want to speed up that process, they will hook her up to an IV, give her this drug. Sometimes it'll start at maybe 5 or 6 in the morning. She may be on that drug all day. She's on her back. She can't move around. She can't even interact with labor because she's been taken out of the whole laboring experience. Doctors want to speed it up because doctors don't want to hang around and wait. Usually you have nurses coming in and out of the hospital, offering drugs, offering the epidural, trying to make the woman as comfortable as possible. But the woman, the birthing woman, has been taken out of the experience. So she's no longer in control of her body or what's happening to her. She should be up moving around. She should be eating. She should be drinking. She should be dancing. She should be squatting. She should be doing all kinds of exercises that she has been trained to do by the midwife or the birth worker who usually works with the midwife. Now, the midwife is not going to induce that patient unless it's absolutely necessary. And in most cases, if it is, she's going to see a doctor. She's going to be transferred out because that means something is wrong. She's going to sit with her, work with her, remind her of her exercises, go through those exercises with her. It's a waiting period. Doctors don't want to wait. They have beds to fill. Hospitals have beds to fill. Remember, on this side of the equation, it's all about the profit. It's about the time and it's about profit. It's about turning over those beds and getting more bodies in those beds. And so she will have a more relaxed, comfortable environment with her family intact. Even her children can be there if the midwife is delivering that baby. Now, this is outside of the hospital. Because
and, I hate to interrupt you, but I do want to point out one thing about what you're talking about there, and you're exactly right. It's turned into kind of a factory experience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Get them in, turn them out, move them along.
Mm-hmm.
But the other part about this is when you utilize the services of a midwife, that frees up the time and attention of the doctor to actually concentrate on the ones that need that attention.
Exactly. We're talking about low risk, low interventions. And so the midwife, her job is to help facilitate the process. She's like a partner. She's only there to step in when it is absolutely necessary. That woman should have been educated, which doesn't happen. She should have been prepared for natural childbirth, which doesn't happen, like using Lamaze, to prepare a woman for natural childbirth, what to expect, how to respond to labor, using water. Midwives tend to use water to help facilitate birth. Women have found that when they're immersed in water, they can deal with the pain better. It's pain, another form of pain management. So there are different techniques to dealing with pain other than giving a person a drug. Because what we found out is when you give a woman an epidural, that takes her out of the game. She's on her back. She can't feel from the waist down. So a machine has taken over her laboring experience. Now, if the midwife is in the hospital, in many instances, she's going to be forced to practice like a doctor because she's operating under the thumb of a doctor. Doctors run hospitals. They run hospitals. So that is the culture in the hospital. When women seek midwives, they're not just looking for a particular person, they're looking for a particular experience. They want the autonomy back of having a baby. They want someone to give them the time, give them the luxury of laboring, helping them, teaching them to breathe. Midwives spend a lot of time, on average of an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, doing an office visit. A doctor may spend 10 minutes. They come in, they do an exam, they end, they're out. They don't talk to the patients. They don't educate their patients about nutrition, about exercise, and we do have an obesity problem here among pregnant women and general population. That plays a risk factor for some women, for a lot of women actually. So midwives are going to prepare that woman for what's going to happen to her body for that whole process. For doctors, they just shove you right through it. They don't tell you what's going on with your body, and they don't prepare you for that, and they don't hold you accountable. What do I mean? Like ACOG, which is the American College of Obstetrician and Gynecologists, is the group that provides guidelines for OBs. Well, ACOG recommends that women gain weight within, not ACOG, I'm sorry, the ACOG has adopted the recommendations of IOM, the Institute of Medicine, which recommends that women, based on their BMI, gain a certain amount of weight within a range so that they don't gain too much weight, which will lead to could lead to severe maternal morbidities.
Gonna have to interrupt you because we're up against the break.
Okay.
But if you can stick around, we'll continue.
Okay.
We'll pick it right back up because now we've got to tie this back into infant mortality, which I want to do when we come back. Speaking with Getty Israel, we're going to get her frustration levels down on this Friday morning, or do our best job. Anyway, we'll do that.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
No matter where you're from, Abbeville, Batesville, DeIberville, or any other ville in the SIP, you're starting your day off right. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome back. Super Talk, Mississippi Mornings. Dave Hughes in this morning. Getty Israel, the founder and CEO of Sisters in Birth, in studio with us. Now, last segment, we talked about the importance of midwives, which I think is very, very valid because it allows the mother to be a participant instead of a spectator when it comes to giving birth. I think that's a fair way to put it. Mm-hmm. Now, my question to you is this. How does this impact the infant mortality rate? And specifically, if an increase in the use of midwives, do you feel like that would decrease the infant mortality rate, and why?
I believe it would increase. Let me say it this way. I believe that it would significantly improve maternal and child health across the board because the nurse midwife, has a holistic approach to care. And it begins before the woman becomes pregnant because remember, a nurse midwife can provide primary care as well as prenatal and interconception between pregnancies. So she can help that woman to get healthy, and that's what's missing. We have a lot of unhealthy women in Mississippi becoming pregnant. And if there are no interventions, like I was saying previously, exercise, tobacco cessation, drug cessation, getting the body healthy before the body becomes pregnant. Nurse midwives do that. Okay, and so you got a healthy person who's pregnant. She could be 35 years old. She could be 40 and still have a healthy child. You could have a 20-year-old who's obese, who's using tobacco. Let's just say she's unhealthy. That's a high-risk person, or she's going to become a high-risk person if there is no intervention. And that's where the public health comes in. So what I like about the nurse midwife is they understand the importance of the clinical care as well as the public health role, right? The lifestyle change that needs to take place, like getting her to walk 30 minutes a day, change her diet, change her behavior, reduce how she has sex so that she doesn't develop an STD when she's pregnant. All of those things can complicate or lessen the likelihood of her experiencing a complication. So infant mortality. Well, we have the highest infant mortality rate as well as the highest maternal mortality rate. We have the highest premature birth rate, low birth weight babies. Those two are linked to infant mortality. Let me share something with you. And I'm so happy because the State of Mississippi Division of Medicaid is a part of this. In January 2025, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid awarded 15 states, I think Louisiana is one too, to participate in something called Transforming Maternal Health. The focus of it is it's a 10-year period, all right? And I think the grants were like $17 million average for each state. The goal is to increase access to midwives and to birth centers. Now, nurse midwives work best within a freestanding birth center because they are in the leadership position. They set the rules. So the midwifery model can be fully exercised, fully implemented. That means birth workers can work with the midwives. They can provide education and coaching and advocacy. They can do home visits. They can do a whole lot. They're paraprofessionals that doctors don't do, that midwives may not do. And so it's an integrated approach, this new model is. This new model, the Division of Medicaid is, I guess, in the process. It received the funds in January of this year to address. If we can put nurse midwives in some of them, we have 53 counties with no providers at all for pregnant women. You've seen that map. We also have in Public Health District 6, which is Central Mississippi, excuse me, people are driving on average of 54.4 miles one way to access prenatal care. All right, so if we could imagine this, if we could put nurse midwives in rural health clinics and in freestanding birth centers in strategic locations across the state of Mississippi to serve low-risk women and to continue to serve them after the baby is born, we could address unwanted pregnancies, we could address chronic diseases among this population before it becomes pregnant. That is the kind of network we need to create. Now,
see, and I love this because this directly addresses the problem in a results-oriented way. That's my big thing, always has been. And to me, the takeaway lesson here is that having a healthy baby that makes it to its first birthday, that's the measure of infant mortality, is they have to reach 1 year old.
Right.
That process doesn't start when the doctor tells you push, and it doesn't end with that first cry. Right. It starts way before that and continues way after that. And I think that's the part that's getting neglected.
Right, exactly. And that's the part that the nurse midwife could address. So what we need to do is significantly put nurse midwives in place in key places, counties in Mississippi. The problem is we don't have enough nurse midwives, so there needs to be a workforce development effort. We also don't have funding support to build birth centers. This grant I just mentioned doesn't provide money for building birth centers.
Of course, but we can work on that. And I want to have you back at some point because we...
All right, now to the important stuff.
Your VIP pass to hear what the most influential Mississippians are talking about.
This is very important. Huge news.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back. Super Talk, Mississippi. Dave Hughes, and on mornings, the last hour ran out of time. Hopefully we'll get Getty back soon.
It was an interesting topic, man.
Well, it is an interesting topic, and this is one of the ways that we fix this. This is not a non-issue. The state health officer declared a state of emergency in Mississippi over this issue. This is an important topic. And one of the ways to deal with it is to talk about it.
Well, and I love her passion about the topic, too.
Yes.
When somebody that works in it is passionate and shows their love and care.
Well, she knows her stuff. Right. That is plainly obvious. If you talk to her for 30 seconds, you figure out very quickly she knows what she's talking about. And it's a fantastic service when it comes to midwives. And that, I don't think that is the ultimate do-all, end-all, be-all solution. It's going to take multiple solutions to fix that problem. I think everybody would admit to that, even Getty. But that's an important step. That, to me, is an important part of it. So hopefully we'll get her back and we'll be able to continue having that discussion.
Well, my mama and papa, they were farming folk and had all lived out on the farm and eventually moved to McGee. My papa got tuberculosis. He busted out once of the sanatorium to get back to the farm and ended up having a relapse. And finally my mama said, no, we're moving to McGee. You're not busting out again. He didn't want to be there by himself and all that. So they moved. But as farmers and, family, all that around, there was a lot of midwifery, as she said, involved in that type of community. And I've always been fascinated with that, how one of our listeners said, and let us know that his wife had 3 natural childbirths, no medication or anything like that. I've always just been amazed. Childbirth is such a unique event. It seems almost a miracle, that it happens. And to know that there are other options too, that it obviously worked for many, many years. And if it would allow and help doctors, which we always seem to have a shortage of, take a little of the burden off and have people that are skilled and pros in what they do. It's an interesting concept. I'm so happy we had her on and those questions were asked and answered.
Yeah, and I want to have her back. And I will say one other thing, that this has been a huge topic for a while on this subject and all subjects in the state of Mississippi. Another important part of a happy, healthy child, the dad. Mm-hmm. Your participation didn't end right before you got that first positive pregnancy test. There's a little more involved. Yeah. For example, during childbirth, this is my personal experience talking, during childbirth, the dad's job is to have the fingers of his left hand crushed into uselessness every time a contraction hits. That's his job. I performed it well. My hand still hurts on cold mornings, and that's okay. That's fine. But you, in some way, both before and after the birth, you have to participate, because that changes the outcome as well, even in a newborn baby. And that's another. I hate we ran out of time, but because I feel like if I had brought that up, I probably would have set Getty off like an atom bomb.
Well, yeah, you love when people are passionate about the topic that they are talking about. It always makes it more interesting. And I asked her, I said, hey, all the pictures I saw, she had a red dress. I said, I was thinking you'd probably be in your red dress. And she goes, what red dress? I'm like, oh, the one, the picture. She goes, oh, yeah, that one. She had just got done walking her dogs and came in. And when you prepare, you know your stuff, right? I mean,
yes.
She knew her stuff.
There's a thin line between preparation and stalking. You do realize that, don't you, Lance?
Right, yeah.
You kind of skirting that line, buddy.
I'm
You're
sorry,
dancing
man.
all over it, but that's okay.
I try to give you a little bit of information. I know you'll never want to use it, but, that's just the way I roll. So,
talking about kids, little further past that point, and just in general, I've got 2 stories here, and neither one in Mississippi, but I see this in Mississippi. I don't know why, as a society and culturally, we have decided to make sure that we overprotect the children to the point to where we ruin their ability to function later on in life. My 2 examples are this. I don't know if you heard about this. CNN reported this. There's an American man that took his 13-year-old son camping in Brazil. Okay, went to a remote area, part of a cell phone and TV detox. We're going to go camp out for a while, son. Mm-hmm. 13 years old.
I like that.
Well, they were reported missing as soon as they left, and the authorities went into the backwoods, Brazil's military fire team, and found them and brought them back out from their campsite. The authorities very plainly said they were camping for 6 days. That's not even a particularly long camping trip.
Yeah, not too bad, yeah. Especially if you know what you're doing. You can live out there for a while.
Now they're saying that the dad could face child endangerment charges.
Huh, really?
Because he took his 13-year-old son camping for 6 days.
Yeah, he unplugged, and that's illegal now. Yeah, you got to know where everybody is at all times.
Well, there's another story that just blows my mind. Along the same lines, it's a slightly different story, but still. There is a woman in North Miami, an aunt. She's 31 years old. 2 younger kids. And she had to go take care of some business, left her 14-year-old son to look after the other 2 kids. Well, 14-year-old son being a 14-year-old son, he took a nap. Somebody saw the 2 kids walking around barefoot and had some cuts on their feet. So they called and got her arrested for child endangerment. Now, we are to the point to where a child outside walking barefoot with cut up feet, my parents would have gotten life in prison. and most people's would have, if the standard we have fallen to is you're letting your child walk around without shoes on outside.
It's appalling, isn't it?
When the story came up, I was talking to my wife about it. And she's the one that actually found the story of the dad taking his son camping in Brazil.
And then gets endangerment charges.
Yeah, she found that. So it started the conversation. And I was telling her, I said, let me compare and contrast these two attitudes. Number one, you've got that. By the way, she had her bail hearing, her bond hearing. The judge set it at $1. And there was an audible gasp in the courtroom. People, what? Huh? And the judge leaned forward and said, yes, $1. Because the judge thought it was stupid.
I mean, I was, as a kid, and this is bragging. This is definitely not talking about in any way child endangerment. But, I mean, my father, when I was young, take me out into the woods and it'd be 4:30 in the morning. And I knew where, the deer stand maybe 150 yards over here, pitch dark. And you had a couple little glow-in-the-dark things you could see if you had your little bitty flashlight that may shine 5 feet. And he'd dump me off and say, all right, boy, I'll be back and pick you up later. Yeah. I mean, 8 or 9 years old, 10, go over and climb up a tree and, pitch dark. And, I mean, that would have had him thrown in jail. But I look at that today, and even then is so, to me, great parenting that he wanted me to experience the outdoors. He wanted me to experience a little fear. He wanted me to go through that and make sure that I kept my senses and got to where I was supposed to do and followed instructions and did.
Look,
these were all learning experiences that I cherish to this day. That would have been child endangerment then.
When I was 10, there was a paved road right next to my house, big hill going down. I had a bicycle. We all know what's happening with a 10-year-old boy with a bicycle on a steep hill, right? Mm-hmm. My parents made a horrible mistake and got me a speedometer for my bicycle. So now it's become a high score battle. So I'm going to go down that hill and get the best speed I can. Well, what I didn't realize was they've been doing some work down there, and there was a big patch of sand mixed with pea gravel at the bottom. Yeah. I didn't know what that meant. I learned very quickly. So I hit it. I went down, and my entire right knee was embedded with pea gravel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you got to remember.
You still got that and grit in there, so there's still a little bit in there.
That was the late 70s. So what did I do? The only thing I could do, I got up, got my bicycle back up, and I hesitate to use the term walked it back home because it wasn't really walking. It was extremely excruciating limping. And I got home and they picked all the rocks out of my knee and fussed at me. Letting two kids go outside barefoot or taking your 13-year-old son camping for 6 days is now considered child endangerment. My parents would have gotten the death penalty. Because I would also like to point out I had no bike helmet.
Right, yeah, I didn't even know what a helmet was. Right?
I may not have had shoes on for that. Yeah. We have got to de-wussify our approach towards children.
We've got to toughen up a little bit.
The desperate, continuous, nonstop refrain of, we've got to protect the children from some things, yeah. From everything, have a seat, Karen. They got to grow up sometime. Because if they don't, they won't. And then you'll complain that they're not mature enough. Mind your own business, I think, would be a much better policy for us to try to follow again in a lot of cases. I'm sorry, I'm going to get fired up if we keep going. It's a good thing it's a break. We'll continue after this. Keep it here.
That's getting there. That's getting more.
From the Venable Glass.
Get up and start your day right with Mornings with Richard Cross here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
And I don't feel left in it all. And you can't feel left small. Honey, I love you. That's all she knows.
Welcome back. Mornings on a Friday morning. Dave Hughes here. President Trump has put out an absolutely scathing post about Jerry Nadler on Truth Social, just tearing him to pieces. if I would have any piece of advice for President Trump, yeah, that's great, but what you should really do is pretend to call and wish him good night. That'll really get him. That's how you get the punch in, you know. You got to step up your game, President Trump.
Well, he's busy, too, because he just deployed, 10 F-35 fighters to Puerto Rico to conduct operations against terrorist cartels on the heels of Venezuelan fighter jet buzzed a U.S. warship in the region.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do that. But,
well, and here's the
nice
thing.
to have a president that has some backbone to him.
My wife, again, this week walked in. She keeps up with the news because she married me and she has no choice. She keeps up with the news. She just walked in the room. She said, "Are we at war with Venezuela?" I said, number one, define war, and number two, that's kind of up to them at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We're moving in that direction, it feels like, but not all Venezuelan people are scum, but boy, it seems like they've got positions of power, doesn't it?
It's you wonder what they're thinking, in that regard. Is it to test, the waters to see if we're serious? I don't.
Or is it just an overbearing sense of hubris that don't you know who you're messing with?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to show you who you're messing with. That, by the way, is how your house blows up. So you might want to be careful with that.
Well, in the world we live in today is becoming more and more polarized in two camps, right? You've got the West and you've got the rest. And, these are not times in which they're predictable, honestly. So when you see a Venezuela coming off the top rope, buzzing a U.S. warship, you kind of wonder what they're thinking.
Yeah, or if
they are at all.
There are some things that are predictable to a certain extent. One of them, the jobs report is out. I don't know if you've seen it yet. And it's pretty much exactly what everyone expected.
Mm-hmm.
The people who keep screaming nobody wants to work anymore, nobody can work anymore is kind of becoming more and more the thing. The U.S. added 22,000 jobs in August. Last month it added 79,000, down to 22,000 this month, and the unemployment rate went up to 4.3%, which again was expected. That doesn't make it good, though. Now, the Fed is almost going to be forced to cut rates whether Jerome Powell wants to or not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any other way, and you're the financial guy. You know this better than me. The odds right now are up to 97% that we will see at least a quarter of a percent interest rate decrease at their meeting in a week and a half.
It's always a fine line of guessing, right? But at this point, you would imagine that, and educatedly guess that it probably will go up a quarter. I would not imagine it much higher than that. Usually, quarters are. I much prefer to see the quarter moves than anything else.
Now, having said that, last September, after Nancy Pelosi sent a strongly worded letter to the Fed, they cut it 50 basis points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm
not a big fan. I think that in many cases that's reactionary. I'm a big fan of following the data. I mean, if you're going to have an entity managing your money for you, a third party, then it needs to stick to the plan, right? I mean, it needs to have a certain set of circumstances and baskets of data that it uses. And when that data says do this, you do this. It needs to be predictable in that regard. I don't believe that you need political pandering and those types of things, playing favorites and all this stuff. If the data says it's time for a quarter point, you go a quarter. If you start seeing half points, somebody wasn't paying attention or wasn't following the data, and they're trying to catch up. And usually, economics is like turning the Titanic. You're not moving fast. So if you try to overcorrect, it's going to swing back at some place and go back the other way. It's just the way it is. Same with a stock. If it opened at $10 today and trades, and then tomorrow it misses $4 and opens at $14, at some point in time, that stock is going to come back and cover that 10 to 14 price. It just generally has to. So, again, I don't like seeing overreactions. I like seeing things work as they should, like steering the Titanic little bit by little bit.
That's the point, though. And I can't remember which one, but one of the Fed governors went on TV this week, and he said he was going to call for a 50 basis point cut. And the point is, you're exactly right. But we've had a captain of the Titanic who's seen the iceberg coming for months, and Jerome Powell, who said, no, we're not touching anything. We're not, the same guy that told us that inflation was transitory. There's not a lot of trust there. There's not a lot of record of making the right moves. And if anybody is looking for proof of that, look at today's jobs report. Look at the unemployment rate. Look at the overall state of the economy right now. And tell me they've been doing it right. Yeah, at some point, we have to catch up, because we've neglected it for a while now, which has kind of been President Trump's point.
That's where I will have kind of echoed that for the last couple of months, is that I believe we missed a moment in there. The quarter point probably should have happened in the last meeting, and then the desired impact, if it had not been met, then you have room to do it again. But it seems that Powell had been a little slow to the data, and maybe you're playing a little politics there, which is not what you want from those in charge of the money.
That's exactly right, and that's why President Trump nicknamed him Too Late Powell, because whatever move they make now, by definition, is going to be too late.
Reactionary.
Yes, they should be out in front of these things, and they haven't been, and they aren't, and that's very easy to prove. Look at the data right now, and go back and look at what they've done over the last, 6 months? At any point, like you said, a quarter point cut in the interest rate could have, at the very least, alleviated some of these problems, I think.
Well, obviously, anytime you drop rates, you're trying to make money cheaper. You're trying to put more money into the market to borrow. Obviously, we live in a society where money is borrowed. You have a fractional reserve system. It takes $1 and can multiply that out. So obviously, interest is going to be the biggest thing there. You're looking at the federal government's debt. Anytime you drop a quarter there, it's going to be a significant impact on the interest paid. So that's one of the things that Trump really was looking at as well, I would imagine, is decreasing the interest going out to bankers. That is your tax dollars and my tax dollars that could go to things that are important, like paving roads and taking care of folks and doing the things you're supposed to do, like getting illegals out of this country. I think, looking at it long term, we probably missed a move, and maybe they do the 50 basis points, but to me, then that's showing a reactionary approach, which you don't want these guys in charge of reaction.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can do all the planning you want until you get punched in the mouth, and then you better react.
Well, and
or you're going to get beat down.
Well, and jobs, as you mentioned, have stayed pretty consistent. I mean, unemployment rates are about the same for men, adult women, teenagers, whites, blacks, Asians. Nothing's changed much in Hispanics. So, I mean, the system it's rolling along, right? You don't see a major issue. Inflation has. They'll say, inflation's always going to be there. You want to know why? Because we print money. That's your number one thing. I mean, inflation is going to come from debt. If you don't have debt, you're not going to have inflation. Go back and look at the history of America in times where we had no central bank. There was really no inflation. So a lot of the inflation we see right now, and I want folks to hear this, is as a result of having an untenable debt. Reality. That's just the way it is. And how do we fix that? Well, some people go, well, crypto and all this. Well, there was an article where, and I sent this to you, China is on the cutting edge of a lot of things. We've allowed them for 4 or 5 years to go unchecked. They have a device now that can go at the bottom of the depths of the abyss in the ocean, and they can cut every fiber optic cable that provides internet and these things. So what are you going to do with your money when you can't get to it? And China knows we've gone crypto, and everybody's pouring money. How are you going to get your money out if you don't have an internet? Or how are you going to get your money if you don't have power? So I'm just saying that, you've got an enemy over there that's thinking, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, the problem is that applies to your bank. Let the power go out at the bank and go get your money.
Yeah, I mean, again, you got an enemy thinking over there. They've also got some space stuff they're doing too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. That's not a problem limited to just crypto.
No, not at all. Exactly.
If the power in the internet goes out at the bank, good luck getting your money out.
That's right.
So that's a problem across the board. I go back to what I talked about earlier. Mortgage applications are at a worse level than they were in 2008. We have far more people trying to sell a house than buy a house. I'm sorry, that's not steady. That it's now the worst it's been in 2 decades. That's a clear sign there are some problems that need to be addressed somehow. Not sure an interest rate is it, but at least it's something. It's a starting point. Be interested to see which wins, politics or
from the Seabrook.
It's happening. You're waking up to what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross. Right now on Super Talk, Mississippi.
An absolutely beautiful Friday morning here in the greatest state on the planet, Mississippi. Welcome back to Super Talk Mississippi Mornings. Dave Hughes here. And joining us now, the representative from District 20 up in the north part of the state, DeSoto, and across the top of the state. He's the Vice Chair of Military Affairs. Representative Rodney Hall joins us. Rep, how you doing today, sir?
Dave, it's really good to see you. I'm doing well. Weather's great. It's a good Friday. We're excited. How are you?
Doing fantastic, and I'm excited to talk to you because, as it seems everyone expects from all elected officials, obviously you have the solution to every single challenge and problem facing the state, and you're just going to fix it like waving a magic wand. That's what the expectation is, right?
Isn't it funny how that works? You go down to the Capitol and you just become the smartest guy in the room. I don't believe that, but that's why I stay close in my district and talk with my folks to find solutions for the problem facing Mississippians.
Well, and that's one thing that I think we miss sometimes when we look at the big picture and we're looking at the forest. We miss the details of the trees, specifically the fact that the problems and the challenges facing, let's say, DeSoto County in your district, are completely different from the challenges and problems on the coast or here in southwest Mississippi or over by Meridian. Every individual part of the state has its own things that needs to be dealt with, don't they?
Yeah, Dave, you make a really good point. You know, I've been blessed to be able to travel across many of the other counties that we have across the state of Mississippi. I was just down on the coast this past week. I was out in Lee County in the Hill Country area not too long ago, went out to the Delta as well. We have a lot of diversity here, diversity geography, diversity issues. And yeah, so you cannot have a one size fits all approach when you try to legislate. You got to take a more nuanced, section based or, germane area in order to find a solution that works for Mississippians across the board.
And I have never in my entire career seen a better lead in to a topic than this conversation going right into the issue of school choice, because that kind of speaks right to the heart of what's being talked about with that issue right now. What are your thoughts on it, and what do you think we might get done this time around?
Well, Dave, you say school choice. I kind of like the term education freedom a little bit more because I think that's what we're really trying to get after. Like you just recently said, you can't take a one-size-fit-all approach. You have to have a little bit of nuance. But what I am encouraged about what we're doing on education freedom is that this is really going to be a member-led bill. It's a member-led initiative. And so as we continue to work through committee, Rob Robertson, Speaker Jason White has been taking input from everyone, not just the folks sitting on the committee, but folks who may not be on the committee who have concerns. He's been willing to talk to folks that are superintendents or teachers and parents. Because ultimately it comes down to what are we going to do to provide our students with the tools necessary for them to be successful in the economy tomorrow.
And, I got to take this opportunity to brag on Speaker White, because you just perfectly summed up what I consider to be Jason's superpower. He listens to everybody and then tries to help steer in the direction that will best fit the needs of the majority. And I've seen it for years out of him, and it hasn't changed one bit. So gotta just take a moment to brag on that. What do you think the odds are that we actually get something passed, to get something done in this upcoming session on school choice, or excuse me, educational freedom? I do like that term. That's a good way to put it.
I mean, Dave, I'll tell you, I'm pretty bullish on it. I was up in D.C. with the speaker and a lot of the other House leadership and some statewide at the White House. And, Donald Trump, this is a big part of his agenda. And so when you look at what passed in the One Big Beautiful Bill, something will be done here in the state of Mississippi for our students, our parents who want more options. Now, I think it is on us to leverage what they're doing at the federal level and provide more tools for parents and for students in order to get after their education needs. So I'm pretty bullish on it. We don't have a bill yet. I'll be honest about that, but we're still very much in the fact-finding mode. But I feel good in the direction that we're at. I feel good where we are right now. And I think that we will have something here to present soon.
Well, it's September 5th. Session doesn't start till January, so you got plenty of time. You're right where you should be in the process, I think. You're in that fact-finding stage and trying to figure out exactly what you're going to do based on the facts, not what somebody is screaming the loudest off in the distance. Not that ever happens in politics. Now, this topic isn't the only thing to do with education. We need to continue the improvements in our education system, aside from the educational freedom thing. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think we could possibly see in the new session in that regard?
You're talking other areas that we're getting after. PERS is definitely at the top of the list. I'll tell you, this fifth tier, it's not really good for our workforce. It's not good for recruiting folks into our ranks. One thing that I would like to see us to do something materially different when it comes to PERS. I'm an Army officer. I've been serving for 21 years this year. And, I joined at 17. If you had told me at 17, and I knew I was doing at least 20, and I probably will do 35, but if you told me that I had to do 35 years when I was 17, that might have weighed into my decision on joining the military. And I'm sure a lot of folks in Mississippi are having that same debate within themselves when they decide to join the police force or become a teacher or work for the state or the county, work for Mississippians. And so I would like to see us to have a approach where law enforcement doesn't necessarily have to do 35 years in order to get their PERS benefit. We should be able to have a more tailored approach based off of the job that they're in. But again, that's another policy area that, Jason White has been a leader on. We know that it's an issue. We know that we have to fix it this upcoming year. And I think you'll have a lot of input from members all across the state.
No, I think you're right. I just think there is a prevailing attitude, and I feel like they've got some facts to back them up on this. Nothing ever seems to change for the positive when we get into these kind of discussions. Everybody feels like they're getting the short end of the stick. The problem is that's how you actually make progress and fix problems. When you effect a compromise, nobody's 100% happy with the outcome. That's kind of how you can judge if you did a good job with the negotiations, right?
Yeah, Dave, you have a point. Everyone's not going to get everything that they want, but we do have to keep our eye on the ball and put first things first. Our PERS, the folks that are already vested in it, whether they're already drawing their retirement or they're working towards their retirement, we cannot draw. That's a no-fail mission. Those guys, they've earned it. We need to make sure that it stays solvent. We also need to continue to make sure that we're doing the necessary things so we can continue to fill the ranks, because we need these guys. We need our first responders. We need our teachers. We need our people fixing our roads and our bridges and things of that nature.
Yeah, exactly. Now, before we run out of time here, any other priorities that you see that really need some focus in the upcoming session?
Yeah, we have had historic investment when you talk about workforce and jobs coming into the state of Mississippi, workforce development. I would like to see us do a little bit more in the defense space. I mean, you have Senator Roger Wicker, who's the Senate Armed Services Chairman up in D.C. You have Congressman Trent Kelly, who is very high and powerful on House Armed Services Committee. We should do more to leverage them at the federal level to bring more jobs in the defense space inside the state of Mississippi. Another thing is healthcare. I'll tell you, Dave, a lot of people don't know this. If we get called up, we just had the Katrina event this past week. Anybody that is called up on state active duty, if they are hurt in the line of duty, they don't have insurance to cover them. And if they are hurt severely, they could get put out of the military for serving their community in a state active duty space. And so we have a bill. It went very far this year, the TRICARE for All bill, the STRONG Act. I would like to see us do a lot more to get that across the finish line next year. I'm
sorry, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I've heard some stupid things, let me tell you, Representative. That one, I think, may have just moved to the top of the list. So if you've got someone, say, serving in the National Guard or serving in the military, and they get activated and they go out to help people, to save lives, to help them pull their life back together after an event like Katrina or like the big tornadoes we just had down here in Walthall County in southwest Mississippi a few months ago, and they get injured while doing that, their health care isn't covered? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. They do not automatically have health care. And so if they become injured, they go through just like any kind of workers' comp for a state employee. Now, the kicker is that state employee, that state comp benefit is only good for a year. If they cannot get their treatment complete, if they cannot get back to 100%, they're at risk of being kicked out of the military. And I just think that's a travesty.
Do me a favor, send me a list, if you don't mind, of the shins I need to kick to get that changed, because that is unconscionable. There is no excuse for treating the people, helping the citizens of Mississippi to survive and rebuild that way, I think. Now you got me fighting. My blood pressure's up now. Rodney, I blame you.
We'll come down and kick them together, Dave.
Yes. Hey, you and me, buddy. Step and step. Well, I'm right there with you. And we'll talk again soon, okay? I'm not letting this one go. District Trinity Representative Rodney Hall, thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend and start working on that list for me.
Hey, absolutely. You have a great weekend, Dave. Thank you.
You too. Final segment.
Waking up Mississippi. From South Haven to Scuba, it's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Final segment. I'm still upset about that, Lance. I should never find out something like that right at the end of an interview segment. Now I'm going to be boiling all day long. Yeah, that makes no sense to me.
Well, there's always things to be riled up about, right? These days, just seems to be a common occurrence on a daily basis. So you'll get plenty of football here shortly to take your mind off of it. You had JUCO last night. Did you catch anything?
I did not.
A pretty big night, man. There's some big scores. The one that got me, though, was the East Mississippi 7, Hines Community College 6.
Yes.
You never hear that anymore in games.
It was a defensive struggle.
Yeah, somebody decided no offense. But, Jones, 51-20 over Coahoma. What did Colin, what did they do? 30-13 over Holmes. So
yep, but I'm actually here on the campus of Southwest Mississippi Community College.
That was
Colin is our arch rivals. Don't mention them first.
Well, then you had Southwest. They dropped one to 35-21 to Northeast. I'm sorry. I get the directionals sometimes turned around.
Here's the thing. Northeast, always a tough team, and two different times during that game, Southwest fought back. They were down and battled back up and just didn't quite cross the finish line with it, but it was still a great performance from them, I think.
Well, Mississippi Gulf Coast put up 58 against Mississippi Delta, who had
That's
7.
About right.
So, it was a big win. And then the boat race of the night, the Pearl River Community College Etowamba game, that was 48-42. So,
ooh.
Some good ball games last night.
didn't have a chance to go to the concession stand once, you would miss something.
Yeah, you would have missed the game there because it seemed to be a seesaw battle. But plenty of football this weekend, guys. I know a big game down in Hattiesburg. Ole Miss travels to Kentucky, and Mississippi State hosting Arizona State. It'll be a lot of fun this weekend, guys. I hope everybody's safe, and it's always fun to have you in here trying to get you cooled off here before I let you go.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You want me to drive home safely. I know what you're doing.
You're steering to a bridge embankment.
I'm going to end up today with something that's just hilarious to me, but not for the reason you think, because it is a horrible thing. I don't know if you've seen this out in Arizona. They have a whole area out in Arizona experiencing severe flash flooding. The schools are closed today from the rain yesterday. There were areas that got like 6 to 10 inches of rain over 6 hours.
Man,
they're having to deal with
something you're not used to out there too.
Now, the city of Phoenix is helping people get ready for anything that's coming and deal with what they're dealing with by giving away free sand for sandbags. You have to bring your own bags and a shovel to fill them with and fill them yourself, but they've got the sand. Where is Phoenix located? Is this a big effort for the city in the middle of the desert to offer free sand if you bring your own bag and shovel? I mean, I'm just
kind of surrounded by it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can walk out in your yard and get some, I think. Why drive there and come back to wherever they got sand from? But I'm sure it's, special sand.
Oh, definitely. You got to have that type sand for a sandbag.
So, yeah, I just, that hit me. And when I first heard about that, I'm like, that's great. And you mentioned Tropical Storm Lorena. It's impacting their weather. That's where part of this is coming from out there. So we'll certainly keep them in mind out in the Phoenix area. I've got some friends out there, and they are not having a good time because, unsurprisingly, the people that live in the middle of the desert are not used to dealing with flash flooding.
No, and not used to that at all, I'm sure. Because
I got some pictures sent to me last night. I'm talking water, up not quite to the bottom of the window on the trucks, but close as they're trying to drive down the road. So, yeah, they've got problems out there. And the one good thing is I would think it'll probably dry off quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you're in the middle of a desert.
Yeah, it's thirsty for the water.
And I would like to end on this note for the day and for the week. The report came out yesterday that the Department of Justice, this is a master class move. I want you to study what's happening here. The Department of Justice is studying whether or not they can ban transgender individuals from owning firearms.
Yeah.
Here's why it's a master class move. We've already, since that came out yesterday, seen prominent Democrats coming out and arguing for every American's right to own a gun.
Well, you have a problem owning a gun if you have mental issues and criminal records and things of that nature, right?
Yes, but the party of the guns are killing people, not people.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We need to get rid of the guns. The guns are the problem, are now arguing every American deserves to have a gun. And somewhere in the White House right now, President Trump just saw that and saw some of those comments and hasn't stopped chuckling all morning. Masterclass, I'm telling you, doing a great job with it. You have a wonderful weekend, buddy.
You too, man. It's always great. Look forward to seeing you Friday.
I will be back next Friday, unless, of course, I'm not. The drawing is tomorrow night on the Powerball, so you never know.
I hope you win, bro.
I'll slide you a 20 if I do. You have a great weekend. Stay safe. Enjoy yourself.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.